Welcome to the MSCW podcast. I'm Jason Gumpert, editor at MS Dynamics World. On this episode, I am talking to Michael Newman, VP of Marketing at Yooz, about some new data that the company has been compiling and developing a report for. They will be publishing that soon, and in this episode, Michael gives us a sneak peek of some of the findings all around AI adoption and confidence sentiment. This episode is sponsored by Yooz, and Michael tells me not just some of the metrics and the numbers, but how his firm has been helping people along on their journeys, both at the individual and team level, as well as how they're working in the channel more broadly. Michael and I are both going to be at the AI Agent and Copilot Summit 2026 coming up in San Diego, and we chat a bit about our plans there as well, including what we hope to learn from some of the presenters, both Microsoft and in the partner channel. And we discuss what it really means to be a guide in an IT environment where something as new as AI is continuing to challenge both the partner channel and customers about where they should spend their time and how they should evolve their solutions. All right. Well, Michael, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here. Can we maybe start by just having you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. Thanks for having me on, Jason. So I'm Michael Newman. I head up marketing for North America at Yooz. At Yooz, we're setting a new standard in AP automation to build lean financial operations. We're working to automate workflows really to reduce errors, fight fraud, and help companies get total visibility across their financial processes. I've been here for about a year and a half now, and I've just seen a tremendous adoption of AI specifically, and specifically the expertise we bring to our clients. And I'm excited to share some of that and some of those insights today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning a bit from you and to also just getting some perspective as well. I think we wanted to maybe start with some of the things you are learning, because as you were telling me, you and your team have been working on publishing the results of a new study that you did, right? And it's got some pretty interesting findings in it about where AI adoption is headed in the context of like enterprise teams, in terms of, I think, maybe finance teams. Can you tell us a little bit more about it from like what you're going to be reporting on in terms of AI adoption?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And these are just preliminary numbers, but right now what we see is about 2/3 of the finance teams are excited to use AI. They're piloting or using it in some way. And that's great, right? Because they're on the journey. They're maybe still wandering around the woods trying to find their path, but at least they're doing something. They're not letting fear of AI block them from not doing anything. That's probably the worst thing anybody could do. So they're on the journey, which is great. The unfortunate thing is only 10% of them are using them for core processes. So they're using them for things that are outside of their maybe day-to-day, and maybe they're focused only on the efficiency piece of it, but not the core process that's going to drive real business outcomes. And so there's just a huge opportunity, huge potential to close that gap over the next probably 6 months to a year, as fast as AI is moving. It's really going to be important for teams to start adopting that into the core processes.
Yeah, that is really a somewhat complex picture, I would say, but something that probably has a lot of, I think, a lot of opportunity in it and a lot of promise too. Well, let's talk about the confidence that that organizations are feeling. I mean, you have this sort of, I guess, striation or spectrum of where people say they're at and where teams believe they're at in adopting some of this technology and using it. How are they feeling about it in terms of their confidence?
Yeah, so it's about 50-50 right now. So they're, again, with outside the core processes, they're very comfortable using it however they're using it today. Still room to grow if it's 50-50, right? You want to see that closer to 80%. But most of them are curious about how else and where else to apply it, but doing so in a very cautious manner, which I get that, right? From a enterprise perspective, you have to be conservative. You can't be jumping in to unknown waters. And so it really becomes important to know where your guides are, who your guides can be to find that path in the forest as you're walking around. And I think that's where vendors have a key part to play, is to leverage their expertise. If their solutions have been focus on business processes for a while, for, like us, for a couple of decades, we want to be able to have that expertise to show them where to walk that path and bring that expertise to get to those business outcomes that they need to get. And again, move that 10% to 30, 40, 50% of people using it in core processes. So again, moderately confident, but still also moderately cautious. And so it's going to be still take some momentum to build some momentum to get them to move quickly. Because again, AI itself is evolving so quickly that by the time you get one thing in place, well, the capabilities may have doubled or tripled. And so now you need to think about how you expand your own policies internally.
Yeah, I mean, one of the hypotheses I'm sort of personally looking at or measuring things against is how much end user companies are looking to their IT vendors to actually provide that leadership and to provide a vision, something that they can sort of follow, so that they're not trying to be the visionaries with every use case for AI, especially like you said, as large language models continue to roll out, and each one's a lot more sophisticated than the one before it, right? How does the Yooz team look at that challenge?
So our customers have been coming to us for several years now. They recognize our expertise in this space. Process automation is where we got our start, and there's just so much data involved with that we were able to build these AI models from that internal data. And we found a couple of areas that are really showing promise and our customers are already using. The first one is around fraud, right? Fraud is, it's like that radar detector fight from many years ago. You get a little bit better detecting it, and then the perpetrators get a little bit better about trying to sneak around those blocks. And so it's really just a constant who's going to get the leg up on that. But our solution there is really to have multiple layers of checks across the system, from the first time a document's received, checking the authenticity of that document, and then checking all of the details like payment providers, etc. So that's one area. We also have, PO matching is an important area for any kind of accounts payable process. And so we've adapted AI there to not only match the PO, but then to go down to the level, the line level, and then GL coding, etc. So that's important. And then we also just recently, I think it's in beta now for many of our clients, AI assistant, where you can go in there and ask questions, and it will, be your assistant throughout the tool. So you don't have to know exactly where to go, but you ask the assistant and it will find it for you. And so that's really an adaptation of where AI started, right? Your ChatGPTs, your OpenAIs, they started by being that assistant for you. So it's important to have that for ease of use and making the interface more natural language aware. But you have to go beyond that too. You can't just rely on that. You've got to have that much deeper layer of integration into the process. Again, that's where the fraud detection and protection comes from. That's where the PO matching comes from. And there's a couple other things we're working on that we'll be announcing here in the next 3 or 4 months to further our position on AI and really help bring it across the financial processes.
Yeah. And as you think about the journey that organizations are on, let's say your customers or perhaps your existing customers versus sort of new onboarded customers, do you see any difference there or any distinctions between getting an existing, Yooz customer who's doing invoice management efficiently already, let's say, versus someone versus an organization you're bringing on and sort of really getting, almost like lifting them out of a paper-based process? I mean, do you have any sense of who's adapting and are there differences between those?
Yeah, well, so the great thing about what we're doing is, for the most part, everything we do with AI is in the core product, right? It's not an add-on. It's not an additional charge. So everybody can use it. And those that have been with us for a while, we've built that trust. So they know they can trust us to deliver good quality solutions for them. And so they're adopting it at a decent clip. For the new customers, again, it's just part of the onboarding. So it's kind of hard to say their benchmark was 0 because they weren't a customer. But there's no pushback, there's no challenge. They're just adopting it as part of their natural onboarding process. But it is great to see these customers that have been with us for a while really asking, saying, hey, where else can we apply this? And they're giving us the info, right? They're saying, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And then we merge that with our expertise to develop the product to meet their timelines and their roadmaps. And so that's really a good relationship between a vendor that has the expertise and the clients that have the business problems that we're trying to solve together.
Yeah, I mean, it really speaks, I think, also to the topic or the theme of confidence. I mean, some of the numbers that you mentioned earlier, the confidence is growing, but it's not super strong according to that data. Do you feel like that's more of a broad market measurement, or does that kind of reflect where you see like your clients as well?
I think it is a broad AI market kind of concern. It's all over the news. You can't turn it on. You can't get into any feed without hearing this or that about AI. Some of it's funny. Some of it's not so funny, like the people that put their core code into ChatGPT, not realizing they just opened the gates to their IP to the entire world. That has happened, right? And so, again, those are where you have to have internal policies and internal education, and that's just not happening today. It's really just the lack of training and education internally or from vendors on where AI can be used, where the pros and cons of that are. So that's another opportunity. If we take on the mantle of being educators on AI, then I think that will help the confidence grow as well.
I know we're both going to be at the AI Agent and Copilot Summit that's coming up not too long after we're recording this. I've been to it before, and I found it to be a really nice way to sort of take a measurement of what different people are working on, and maybe some of the vision that different experts have. I mean, what are some of your plans for that event?
Yeah, I'm really going to understand. I mean, I know where we are, but how are others approaching this? What are the conversations we can share around lessons learned? Because I think the whether it's within finance or across marketing, my other peer group, it's really important to understand how others are approaching this, learning from them, understanding where they've found pitfalls. Like I think just speaking about marketing for a moment, we were the first ones impacted, right? I remember the chill of 23 when generative AI first came out. Every marketing department that I know of was facing an immediately 25% cut because Gen AI is now going to be out there. Well, guess what? Now those roles are starting to be hired back because it was a good tool, but it wasn't right. It wasn't perfect. And you still needed expertise to guide the prompts and guide that generative AI. And I think that was a good lessons learned. So you're not going to see that same challenge for finance or for other IT roles, because again, you've got those some parts of the organization were leaning into it sooner or were forced to adapt it sooner than others. So the more of those common conversations we can have, learn from one another, that's really exciting. And then on the product front, again, how are others approaching it? How are they taking their expertise and applying that? Are they owning their responsibility being an expert and being a vendor, or are they also approaching it cautiously? And so it'll be just interesting to get a broad perspective across the market. And obviously we're all there within the Microsoft environment, which is an important partner for many of us. So their guidance is going to be helpful to understand too. Where are they going? What new capabilities are in the works that will help us and reduce that fear factor or increase the confidence of the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, and you just raised a great point that I did want to get a little more perspective about before we wrap this up, and that is the ecosystem factor, especially in the Microsoft space. I know that Yooz works across different software ecosystems, but this one has some particularities. I would say Microsoft, as a vendor working with their services or system integrators, and then vendors like Yooz. Do you try to keep an eye on where, let's say, SIs are at when it comes to maybe being that interface between you and your clients in this ecosystem, or how vendors and how Microsoft and the service providers, the resellers, are talking as it relates to how a solution like yours fits in.
Yeah, we have to be have a shared knowledge there, what they're seeing, what they're trying to push, and then where we can support their needs. Because most, as we know, most Microsoft clients go through some kind of partner, value-added reseller, or a referral, whatever, and we have to have those close relationships. And so we certainly are looking to meet with some of our partners there, and then also walk away with information that we can share with other partners to make sure they're understanding of where we see and how we see, operating within the Dynamics community specifically, and how we can bring more value to their clients and to the folks looking to automate their AP processes.
Yeah, I think just to add, looking ahead to that event in particular, I'm really interested to see how some of the partners are talking about, or maybe prioritizing, sort of both the technology and sort of the process topics that they want customers to focus on, because this really is sort of a customer focused event, I would say, compared to some that are more partner focused or whatever, or developer focused. This is, I think, really an end user event. And what are in total the different presenters and from the keynotes down to the workshops and so forth, what are they really focusing on, and what kind of questions are customers asking? So I think we'll try to catch up while we're there, and maybe we'll do a little bit more of a debrief or reflect on some of our observations while we're there, right?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. And by then, I think our survey will be out, and we'll be able to share more details around that. And again, we'll look to validate that with what we're hearing from the audience and the questions. Is there confidence there? Or are they showing up with trepidation in their voice? How do we address that collectively as an ecosystem? That'll be important. So, but yeah, I look forward to being there in person and sharing more with you at that time.
All right. Well, Michael, thanks so much. I really appreciate your insight. And yeah, we'll be talking soon.
Sounds great. Thanks again, Jason.
This has been another episode of the MSTW podcast. My thanks once again to Michael Newman of Yooz for joining me. If you want more information on Yooz and their activities, you can check out a new blog post that they have up. We'll post a link in the show notes where you can learn more about how they are guiding customers. And that's it for this episode. If you want to get in touch with me, you can send me an email, jason@msdynamicsworld.com. For all of our updates, please do follow us on LinkedIn. Until next time, this is MS Dynamics World, signing off.